This video is about a tool called Set.A.Light. It allows you to lay out your shoot, where you're going to put the camera, the lighting, the model, etc. So we're going to start off here in Milanote. If you haven't seen the video for this, check the list. There's a video on Milanote itself. Had a client come to me with this picture up here that she was interested in getting for a silhouette shot, for a maternity shot. I liked the concept. I wasn't sure what I would use to hold her up or if I'd have to remove something from it, but then I came up with the idea of what we could find online. And this is the section that I put together over here. And as you can see, I found a mesh net type hammock chair and a stand to hold it up. Okay, I have a way to keep her off the ground. I could add the sheer material as well, but it came to me, what if I made her into a mermaid? So obviously some mermaid ideas here, and the idea of her being caught in a net. So that was the basic idea that I started with. But in order to do that, I have to make her in silhouette. So here's Set.A.Light. It, as you can see, there's the camera. The light down here are all the different options that you can get for the different types of lights: mono lights, speed light umbrellas, soft boxes, etc. And what I wanted to do was, I liked the shot, but what I didn't like about the shot was you couldn't see her face. So if we take these lights and we move them around, and you'll notice that as I move the light, it still stays pinned to her. So we'll put that on the backdrop, and we'll bring that in. As you can see, she's getting more silhouetted as we go in. We have another light over here. Now there's a switch over here where you can say, okay, I just want this to be the only light. Turns that light off. So now as I deal with this light, I can see what's going on. Now I have umbrellas. That I could use for my work. So let me pull an umbrella up here. I'm going to take this light out and remove it. Now I've got my umbrella light. Going to aim that at the background, pull it in, and turn it on. We'll up the power. And there's my silhouette. Now if I wanted to, let's take this light out. I could add another light on the other side to give more of a background light, but that's not bad as it is right there. Over here you can see where the camera sees, and you can actually take a snapshot of it. That's what that little camera icon is, which is kind of neat. We'll do one right now. You get this picture down here that you can then render. And that gives you an idea of what the image would look like. Now, as I said, this isn't what I'm looking for. So let's go back to setup. I would like to have her face. Now, I could do that in multiple ways, but let's do a speed light. We've got a mono light, so we'll do a speed light. We have to turn off this set as solo light so that we get a second light. And you can see that we've got too much of her face and body showing up. So move the speed light around. We'll adjust its angle. till we get just a kiss off the face. And you can drag anything you want around on here and change how it's aimed. You can change its power. You can change the tilt of the head. And you see it's now aimed up at the ceiling. So we get a little bounce back from the ceiling from up there. But we can move it down. And now let's see what we get from a shot. Now, there's a lot of other things I could do for posing the model, so I could get her head in a different location and things. And you can see I've got too much light on her at this point. So we need to do a little bit more work with the light. Move that head up a little bit more. Now you can see I've got it pretty much laid out the way I'd want it. I would want a little less light, and again, I'd have to change the pose a little bit more. There's so many ways you can change the pose, and I don't want to spend a lot of time going over her, but you can see you can change her hairstyle. There's a pose slider. Depending on which one you've got, you can get other poses as well. These are the standing poses right now. You can pin different parts of the body. You can turn different parts of the body. There's kind of a creepy little look in here where you can rotate the head toward the camera, which looks really creepy with the arms the way they are like that. But we could change her pose so it's not quite so off-putting when she looks at the camera. Now it doesn't look quite so bad. I might have her just looking that way, actually, for the actual shoot. Take this out of posing mode. We're back to the studio. But you can see, but by moving around the different pieces that you have, changing, you can change the height of the lights. You can add other lights. We could change the angle of it so that it's coming more from this angle. But you can play around with it if you're setting up a lighting scenario. You can play around with the different types. If you don't know that much about lighting, you can learn a lot about lighting by playing around with the different pieces in here and get a feel for what you want. Now you may wonder, well, what does that do for me? Well, you see down here you've got this overhead view, which you could actually move things around from the overhead view as well. But when you lay it out, it actually gives you your angles, where you've got things laid out. You see the top view. You can see the print for the person of what you were looking for and how you had things laid out, so you can then take that and lay it all out. Now you'll notice up here, you've got your camera settings. So not only can you handle the lighting, you can get down to what you want the camera settings to be. so that you can lay out the actual lighting, the lens that you're using. Let's say we're doing a fixed 50. And what you'd have to do to balance out things like your F and your light. Okay, now it's way, way, way too bright. Let's put it down to an F4000. Then we go back to our lights. Well, let's make this a solo light again so we can get that silhouette. You can see how bright the background is. So we can slide that a little bit forward, and then we can say, okay, let's back this thing off. That's what I want for a silhouette. Okay, now we come over to the other light. Remember to turn this off, the solo light. Now this is way too bright. We back this way down. So we get just that little kiss off the face. There's our preview, what we've got in the set, what equipment we've got. Bear in mind, this is the demo version of the studio. There's a basic, which has been more than what I needed so far. This is my first try with the studio, which gives you a lot more options. I'm not sure they're all the options that I would need to have. As you can see, that not only can do the stuff on the lights here, but you have an entire set of things over here that you can use to set up. And then you can say, okay, well, I've got a speed light, but I want to shape it. So give me a softbox. And now I've got a softbox that's shaping the light for me. You can add grids, anything that you've got in the list of material over here to go with, including gels. Color gels are something you do get in the studio, but it is not available, from what I could see, in the free or in the basic version. So we do a little bit of orange. Maybe you want to make it kind of a cooler shot. So all these things are options that you have in here. Again, like I said, you can get the trial version, which is good for a fixed number of days, like 14 days. It allows you to play around with light and get a feel for lighting if you're not used to doing lighting. If you are, you can come in here, you get the whole thing laid out. There's an export button up on the top. And this is the type of output that you get from your print. There's your picture, which you can click and render it so you get a better, cleaner shot over here. Your side shot of how you had things laid out from the perspective that we had, as well as here's where everything is. Strip light, 10 by 24 inch external diffuser, the settings of the lighting, the angles that they're at, how high it is, full frame camera, ISO 100, 1/4000th of a second at f2.8 on a 50 millimeter lens. So all of your lighting, everything else shows up. And here's your plan for doing the shoot. So if you had somebody working with you, this gives them a blueprint that they could then help you set things up, or just you. You've got your blueprint, how to set things up, how you want things to look, what you expect to get for a final result. You can export this, you can print it. You've got different templates up here that you can use for the output, depending on how you want to set things up, which is kind of neat. So there's your just straight blueprint. Here's where I want to put things. You just print a couple of those out and you're all set to go. So this is taking one of the tools and feeding it into the other, where we started out with Milanote, and it allowed us to go through and set up what we wanted to do for ideas and how we want them to look. And then we went into Set.A.Light and said, okay, now that we've got these items in here, how do we set up the environment to set it in such a way that we get our imagined items. And while this set of sliders doesn't have it, there's another set of sliders that was in the other version of it that actually had people laying down. This one doesn't, but it's got a ton of other options that you can do in your posing mode to manipulate the body. So it gives you some interesting ideas and easy ways to set up lighting, set up the posing. You can change what your person looks like, what kind of clothing that they're wearing, so that you can set the look, the mood. You can do the makeup over here. There's a bunch of things you can do to set up what it is that you want to get out of the shot. Are you just going to do a headshot? Is it going to be a portrait? How much of the person you're going to shoot? You can set all of that stuff up and have all of these based off of the ideas that you had in your Milanote board. Walk into the shoot, get it all laid out, get it done. That way you're not worried about the poses, you're not worried about the idea, you're not worried about the lighting. You could just go, interact with your subject, and enjoy the shoot.